Welcome, Spider fans, to part 2 of our 2-part series on the men's team.
For those of you who were with us in part 1, you remember we talk about what it was like attending practice, and we pontificated about the 4 transfers.
Porter, here are some sounds of practice, but what are your thoughts about the rest of our roster?
I think it's probably interesting to talk about some of the new players. The returning contributors, I think most people know what we have. I mean, I would say we saw Tanner looked like he was more confident than I remember. Tanner had a nice end to the season last year. His confidence grew. He's kind of continued that through practice. Had some nice outside shots.
Yeah, and I liked watching during the scrimmage section. As you'd expect, one team had Mike Walls, the other team had Beagle. They were going kind of head-to-head when they were in there. I mean, there were subs happening as well, but it was fun watching them go head-to-head against each other. I think they both look solid, and they both frustrate each other in a good way on the defense. So when I think one missed a shot, you could tell they were kind of upset about it. But that competitive nature between the two of them, I think, was fun to see.
AP was working on the side?
Yeah, that's right. If you guys remember, I think back in February, unfortunately, he got hurt, had a meniscus tear, and he had work done on that. So he was kind of working on the side. But, when practice was over, actually, when we were starting to talk to coach, like he was out there with the trainers, shooting, working. So I think the expectation, he's going to be ready to go when regular season, kind of in school season practice starts. But for now, I don't think they want to risk him full court games as he's working back from that injury.
Yeah, so let's talk about the freshmen and the redshirt freshmen for a second. Bryson McLaughlin. If I mispronounced that, Bryson, I apologize. McLaughlin. But Bryson, I told Tom the first thing I noticed in practice was Bryson just looks different.
Yeah, no, he is. First, he got a haircut. So if you remember, he was on the bench last year as a redshirt freshman, so able to practice last year but not play. So he's got a tight haircut. So at first it's like, who is that? Because I don't recognize him from the roster last year when they're on the bench and when they're kind of warming up in practice. He is tall. He is lean and
athletic.
We saw some dunks during the practice session today that just tells you that he's not kind of the average Richmond recruit.
Mooney, we talked about earlier, mentioned that he kind of reminds him a little bit of Justin Harper. I think he's faster than Harper. Not as big, not as confident as Harper was, but he looks like he could be. I'm going to say shades of Marcus Camby in a way. He's so athletic. It's not our normal recruit.
Yeah, and I do think the Harper comparison was also in the development path.
Right.
Meaning, we all remember Harper from his senior year and going to the Sweet 16 and being drafted. But I think if you think back, like I can also remember a point where maybe Harper was a sophomore, and as a fan, you're like, this kid's got so much potential. Why isn't he not performing on the court as well as his potential seems? And there was a development path for Harper as he got better and better every year and became a superstar for us as a senior. Now, like he can't take the same approach with Bryson in the environment today that he took with Harper. You're just not able to be as patient today with players. I think you bring in Harper and you assume you got 4 years with this player to develop them into a star. Yeah. You just can't assume that with anybody today.
Yeah. And Bryson, from our practice, he didn't have the best practice. He missed a lot of three-point shots, and he missed a lot of free throws after the segments were run. And there were still times when I think he was a step slow being where he needed to be. But we're talking about potential. He in my mind has as much potential as any Spider I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, it's hard to know when we've seen one practice what to expect this season, but I think there will be moments this season that we as fans will see that potential, and we'll see streaks of where potentially he is dominating a game. But I think it'll be streaks.
Yeah, he's going to have some games where
he's got a lot to learn.
And this is the kind of guy that, like we talked about potential and results. This kid's got the potential. We want it to translate to results because if we do see that and it starts to develop over this year, he's the kind of kid that could take us a long way. So.
One thing Coach said about Bryson, and then we'll kind of transition to Donovan Richardson, kind of a true freshman. They were both players in their high school who were clearly the best player on their team. And we have, and we'll talk about all of these guys, but we've got some players who were played high school ball on a very competitive team that they weren't the best player on their team. They have a team, potentially a roster, who all got recruited, who all went, Division One, or many, went Division One. And so it was interesting. And not that one's better than the other. Like, Coach didn't have a conclusion on that. But with Bryson and then with Donovan Richardson, you got two players who were clearly the best player on their high school team, which is just a different environment and a different development path.
With Richardson, what I noticed was how calm he was. Like, for a true freshman, he looked like he was kind of unflappable. I mean, he just looked like a cool customer that felt like he belonged. And I can't say he played the best or drew the most attention from the practice, but like, I felt like this is a kid who knows, he's a good player and he's gonna develop into an even better player.
Yeah, that's right. And kind of the two players on the other side who are at kind of super competitive high schools, were probably fighting for minutes when they were underclassmen in their high schools versus when they became seniors, kind of Aiden Augerbright and Will Harper III.
Yeah, I mean, Augerbright is going to be a great spider guard. He's smaller physically than the other three guards we've talked about, but he is as confident as they get. He's cool. He's collected. He's a player. So I don't know how much of a contribution he'll make in year one, but he's going to be a really good guard.
Yeah, that's right. He looks super confident out there. Like, I think if you didn't know any better, again, this is one practice,
right,
you wouldn't say he's a freshman point guard. He looks solid out there.
I think Will Harper comes from a really good program. He has a really good pedigree. I think he flashed at times during practice. He also got some corrections because, the speed of the game and where you're supposed to be is what you have to be thinking about all the time. But I don't think there was anything that wasn't just a growing pain. But I think he's going to be a good player based on the pedigree alone.
One thing, too, I want to mention, kind of both Donovan Richardson and Aiden Augerbright are both from the Richmond area. Mm-hmm. So it's also awesome to know that, we're bringing some kids from the city here, which is very competitive for basketball. Mm-hmm. And also be fun to see family and friends be able to support both of them easily because it's just, down the street.
Dylan Hominick, I was kind of expecting him to be a long-term project. He's still got a long way to go, but I was pleasantly surprised by how strong he looks for a freshman coming in at 6'10" or 11 or however tall he is. He looks stronger than I would have expected. He's not going to be a guy that needs 2 years in the weight room. He's close. And also he was quicker. Now he flashed during the non 5-on-5 drills. Like, I thought he looked really good when, the game speed wasn't being run, but I think he's going to be a good player for us long term.
I think we were both surprised. I mean, he was a late recruit.
Yeah.
So I think you just see it on paper or the timing of it all, you kind of wonder, like, well, what do you get so late in the process? But he's a freshman. He's got a ways to go until, like, Walls is worried about his playing time.
Right.
But I do think you've got someone there with a lot of potential. What I was impressed with is that he seemed to know the process and know where to be, kind of know the drills, and he's been there the same amount of time as all the other true freshmen. I think that's part of what surprised me is that he just seemed ready to go and just be a contributor to practice. Yeah. And it wasn't that he was a freshman that needed a lot of instruction to figure out what was next.
That's right. I think in the 5-on-5, there were a few times where, the speed of the drill and the athleticism of the players found them jumping into lanes where he was trying to pass the ball at times. But that comes with just time. I mean, this kid's been on campus for a month, and so give him time, and it'll start to click. But I do think he's a promising big man.
Yeah, and one player we don't want to forget, Jalen Robinson.
Yeah, let me tell you my first thought on Jalen Robinson because I wasn't really during the part before the 5-on-5 drills. I wasn't really noticing him flash other than he's a big guy, right? He's strong. He's a little bit like Daughtry. He's a big physical body. But then when the 5-on-5 drills came about, he seemed to be in every play. I mean, he just was everywhere. So I'm not sure if this is the best player that, on the team or if this is a guy that just, had an unbelievable practice. But like that kid is going to be a force inside.
Yeah. One thing I did like, maybe talk a little bit about the 5-on-5 practice. So each team was coached by one of the assistant coaches. And they'd have, when let's say the 4-minute session was up, they'd get together and huddle and have a little time to strategize, to kind of talk about who was going to play. Every time Jalen Robinson did something in that game, which was positive. Jaden Daughtry, who was on that team, was cheering him on, was kind of talking to him in his face. Like, I think Jaden, just within the 5 weeks of practice they have, it looked like he's taken Jalen kind of under his wing. They're similar size. I think their game is very similar. So it was great to see kind of Jaden already showing that leadership and kind of taking what appeared to me kind of Jalen under his wing. How can he help Jalen go from his redshirt year where he was practicing here and now become a contributor on the court in games?
I would say I see Robinson almost as a 4 based on just how he plays. I mean, you could see a 3, but I'm thinking 4. What do you think for that?
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think that's where Jaden's going to be as well.
Yeah,
this year.
Jaden's going to be a 4 for sure.
We can't watch one practice and tell you kind of what we think minutes are going to look like.
Right.
Hopefully, as we get closer to the regular season, we'll have seen more and have a better sense of that. But Jalen's a very interesting player. Like Porter said, like as soon as he got to 5-on-5, all of a sudden, like, hey, who hit that 3? Oh, it was Jalen. It kind of kept asking that question and seeing Jalen perform.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I come back to as we get into our wrap up and our grades. Mike Walls is so important to this program. He is just one of the most physically impressive centers Richmond has had. And I can say that going back 30 years, like if you look at physical tools, he's big, he's strong, he can shoot, he can pass. He is a good Atlantic 10 player. I think he last year was probably the best player on our team. I think Mike Walls could be a great A10 player. I know he's a senior and it hasn't translated yet to all A10 first or second team, but the potential is there. And I think Mike, if you're listening to this podcast, I think you are the key to us taking this thing to the next level. Because I do think, when you realize how good you are inside and you take your game from good to great, this team could be absolutely special.
Well, the one thing, too, you think about last year and some of my frustrations watching the team, and obviously we won 10 games, there weren't enough contributions around the 5. And so you look at Mike Walls and be like, well, why isn't he doing more? But there wasn't playmakers around him that can help elevate his game either. I think the opportunity this year with the 4 transfers, the 2 redshirt freshmen now being eligible to play, I think where Walls is going to be his best is when he's got guys around him who are forcing the other team to guard them. And so all of a sudden Walls is one-on-one inside and has that opportunity. But let's also be clear, like Walls is a center in the Coach Mooney system, and that's not a sit under the basket and box out and post up. The offense goes through the big man, and I think Mike's good at that. So I think we'll see him doing that same role. But I think there'll be times where, because the other guys are driving to the basket and being guarded, and have 2 guys jumping on them because they beat their first man, Walls will be standing there ready for that little pass and will be able to really improve, his output because of the quality around him.
And just to remind everybody, like we talked to Mooney about Walls and he waxed poetic about Mike and not only the person that he is, but just how he's evolved as a leader. And some of the things that you don't see on the court or that you don't always see. And I'll say this because I don't know Mike, not yet anyway. I hope to get a chance to sit down and talk to him at some point in time. But I went to every single women's game last year, both at the Henrico complex where they played, Columbia in playoffs, and also at the Robins Center. And there were 2 Spider men that were at the most games that I saw, Delani Hunt and Mike Walls. And so I don't know, that just speaks to character. He's there to support the other program, and that takes a lot of time out of his day, but he's doing it. So I appreciate that. That shows the kid's character. Let's talk about Kirby Mooney for a second. I thought Kirby held his own practice. I mean, he plays fast, he's working hard, but he looked like he belonged.
So I want to talk about and do some predictions on our starting 5. And I'll just name players. We won't need to get, because I think we agree on most of it. So I'll name a player and Porter that I think is a starter, and Porter, you just say yes or no. So Mikkel Tyne is a starter.
Yes.
Mike Walls is a starter.
Yes.
Will Johnston is a starter.
Yeah, he's going to start it too.
AJ Lopez is a starter.
I'm not 100% certain on that one yet.
Okay, well, who starts in that place?
I think give me another 2 months of watching Lopez, McLaughlin, Tanner, and Jalen Robinson. I'm not 100%. I mean, I think right now, if you pin me to it, I'd say Lopez is the guy. He's certainly got the most experience, but yeah.
Okay, and then the other place where I think we differ, when you look at, let's say, the 4 position, I'm going to say AP is a starter.
Daughtry's a starter,
Yeah,
100%, 100%, and it's just, I mean, he's just a beast.
And let's be clear, this is a prediction on game 1.
Correct.
So I'm expecting, if you told me what's going to happen in the middle of the A10 season, I'd say Daughtry is a starter. But I'm going to start with AP. I'm going to assume he gets 100%, and just kind of knowing the system the best.
AP's also a fiery guy. I see him coming off the bench and just giving us a spark. I just think Daughtry is. He is going to be a beast, and he's going to be a lot down low for teams to handle. So I'm going with Daughtry. So it sounds like the one place we're willing to differ at game 1 right now is Daughtry versus AP. And so
you're not willing to commit on the let's say the wing position right now. So
well,
you're just being a coward and
I'll say Lopez right now. If you ask me, it's going to be Lopez because of the experience. But like I'm not sure that there's not a guy or two that couldn't pass that.
Agreed.
So
okay. So
by the way, let's put a beer on it for this because I'm saying Daughtry, you're saying AP. Is that fair? I already bought you 1 beer for losing the first bet. Are you going to give me this? Do over?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
That's cool.
Okay. So what's your grade overall for the men's off season?
My grade for the men's off season is a B+. And here's why. So, we're coming off 8 Division I wins last year, and we brought in 4 new transfers. We've got some redshirt freshmen who look really good. It's easy to get excited about practice, right? It's easy to see the potential in practice, and it's easy to talk to, the coach and you feel the passion for the program. But as I've said, wins are the key metric that this program is judged by. And I want to see us early in the season go out and roll teams. I mean, we talked about it's hard to get a really good team into the Robins Center right now in this current climate, but we're going to play some teams that we should beat by 20 or 30, not 2 or 3 or 4. If we go out early in the season and start rolling some teams, I'll up that grade. But for now, I'm giving it a B+.
Yep. Well, understood. I'm going with an A-, mainly because of the 2 main things we talked about before, bringing back 8 of the 10 players that we could have, and the 2 we lost were not major contributors. So imagine the scenario where we brought 8 of 10 back, but we lost like Tyne and Walls. Like that would make the season a whole lot tougher. So I think bringing back kind of all the returning contributors, major contributors from last year, and then the 4 guys we brought in, I think they're in different ways will all be scorers for us. And we know last year we needed more outside shooting, just more shooters in general, and folks who can score in different ways. And I think we've brought 4 of them that can.
The depth is 100% much, much better than last year. I mean, you've got Tyne, but you've got Thomas and Argerbright right behind them that, you will not feel like there's a huge drop off when those guys come in. You got Lopez, you got McLaughlin, you got Tanner, you've got Robinson, you got Rumaglu, you've got Beagle.
Are you just reading the roster, Porter?
You were just literally like talking about a much different depth situation.
Yeah, no, I get it.
So but still there's 16 players on this team. That's a lot of players. And so, you got to herd the catch as the coach. You got to herd the cats. You got to mold the talent, and you got to get the results. And the potential is there. I definitely am going to go on the record and saying we're a much better team than last year. I am not ready to commit that I'm not ready to commit that we're an NCAA team just yet. I don't think right now I can say that, but I do think it's very much a possibility this team dances come March.
Well, speaking of NCAAs, I think we're going to follow this episode with a similar episode on the women's team, who did win their first NCAA tournament game ever last year. So that'll be exciting. We'll do something very similar. We'll get to a practice or 2 to talk to Coach and do something similar. So, but until then, I think we're going to wrap this one up. Please like, subscribe, follow wherever you listen so you can keep getting these in your mailbox every time we do a new one.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys. I joke with Tom, we're dominating certain segments of the market as the best spider podcast out there, the best active spider podcast out there.
Yes, active.
And we're just trying to bring as much information as we can to you about the program we love with a goal of ultimately having fun, informing you, helping to build the program that we love, giving some extra attention to the women's program who really, really deserves it, and hopefully celebrating with all of you guys in the Robins Center some unbelievable results.
Yeah, so this is Spider Sound Off. Sounding off.
See you later.